A few weeks ago, a video popped up on my feed featuring a creator that I haven't thought of in a while. A creator that I associate with the start of the current problem with today's content creators for young boys. One of the fathers of all the little gremlin edgy content creators that he would soon disavow. I'm talking about idubbbz. idubbbz, or Ian, has become a fascinating case study to me in terms of content creation and audience retention. Even though he's currently in what I'm sure his old fans would call a flop era, when you look at his views, they still are pretty decent, although not quite at the peak that they used to be. But then when you go and check the comments, it seems that most of the people there that are contributing to those views are just there to hate watch and watch him fail. They're mainly there to berate him, his wife, his new direction in life, and his content. And hell, while I'm not a darling for the YouTube algorithm myself, it seems that this platform is even punishing him for no longer creating shock jock-like content. I remember not that long ago that idubbbz unlisted all of his older, more edgier videos, including the series Content Cop, which was a series taking down some of YouTube's biggest drama mongers at the time. This was during the time when content like that of Leafy Is Here was popular, so it was pretty much edgy white man makes snarky comments about drama while trying to sound disengaged from it. And this kind of content blew up. He also did these wild ass videos with Ethan from H3 and Filthy Frank, aka Joji. The thing that fascinates me is that Joji was able to leave pretty much all of his edgy past behind. I don't even know if there are people who still remember Filthy Frank or directly connected to him in that aspect. But for some reason, Ian can't do that. Ethan from H3 managed to grow up a bit himself, even though you wouldn't be able to tell it from the last few years. But him becoming a parent really helped him develop his empathy. If you remember how he used to be, it's a big jump from now. And his audience seemed to get acclimated to it. But Ian could not. Now why is that? Well, Ian made an apology video a few years ago, apologizing for his old content and explained what the catalyst was for his change.
One year I was at a convention and a bunch of fans were, wanting pictures, and this particular fan came up to me and said, "I know you probably don't like transgender people, but can I, get a picture?" That smacked me in the face. I was like, oh, holy shit. Why would you think that? But I mean, it was fairly obvious. I was being cruel, hateful, bigoted, and being very uncaring about people's feelings. That is a very fair assessment to make. I was giving this person bad vibes, and I think I've given a lot of people extremely bad vibes.
It seems that once he came face to face with the people who liked his work, he realized he was sending the wrong signals about him as a person. Unlike Joji, and more so like Ethan, Ian was not playing a character to the audience. They took him at his word that this is what he believed in. And it was at this point he realized he made a grave mistake. Ian matured, which is what happens when you get older. Who you are at 25 will not be who you are at 30. And it's not hypocritical of you to self-reflect and grow as long as you admit your mistakes. Of course, the flip side, at least for me, is I'm not sure why it takes some men, regardless of race, so long to get empathy. It's probably somewhere deep in a bell hooks book I haven't read yet, but it seemed the moment that Ian began to allow himself to empathize with others, it allowed him to see the rather unempathetic, nasty, rather racist and edgy shock jock culture he created, and it made him sick. However, his audience, after being soundly rejected by a man they once respected, did something rather predictable. They blamed his partner. They blamed a woman, which they typically do, for why Ian became such a soft soy boy beta cup. Because God forbid an older white man have any agency and self-reflect on why he stopped being a piece of shit. Another thing that happened was it created an entire subsection of people reporting and watching idubbbz for any failure in his life. I saw it recently with his newest video, a return of Content Cop focusing on his old friend Ethan. What I find interesting is that Ethan from H3 has been on a downward spiral right now, but a lot of people are willing to put that aside just to dunk on Ian and his experience with Ethan, even though it seems that Ethan has been on the instigating end of this for a while. But a lot of videos talking about it seem to put the onus only on Ian for airing out their dirty laundry when, like I said, Ethan has been crashing out and doing this for a hot minute. I find it fascinating because, like Ian mentioned in his apology, he tried to show his new self through his content gradually changing, but was only met with resistance. His audience wouldn't let him grow. Personally, I mean. It seems that they resent him for changing and only stay to remind him of the audience that he abandoned for, in their minds, complete failure. But I'm not gonna lie, because of those past mistakes and the fallout of the old content that Ian used to make that we are still dealing with to this day, he's not really welcomed by people on my side either. When that apology dropped, I made a TikTok where I said specifically I don't forgive him for what he did. While I do think he's grown, his past mistakes have left too deep of scars for me to just completely ignore and forgive him. And Ian knows this. He acknowledged in his apology video that there will be people who don't forgive him and he has to learn and accept that. It's interesting because when you think about content creators who end up stuck doing content they no longer want to do, it's normally because the YouTube algorithm doesn't reward them for such actions, and not so much that the audience just leaves and feels betrayed and then vindictively tries to take that content creator down. It's a very, I think, unique case study with him, and something that we need to look out for more, as I think we're also going to see another change in the demographic of creators who used to make very edgy, red-pilled like content kind of switch away from that as the tides turn. But the main thing is that no matter where we go in this conversation, we need to make sure that we include Ian in it.